Welcome back to Test Garage. We're here in the garage, hence the name. Got the wife's 2008 BMW X5 4.8 liter I, which you can't read currently. It is not an SUV, it's an SAV, Sport Activity Vehicle, and that is straight from BMW. Well, we call this thing the Krusty Kraut. She's in here for a whole new front end, rear end, and then she's going to get new tires and alignment, but I'm not going to do those last two here because that's more work than I'm up for. So as you can see, she's up on stands. Well, halfway. The back half is still squatted down there, but she's coming along. So I've got a whole box of parts and some tools laid out, and we'll bring you around and get this party started. So we got some parts in for it. Got some wishbones, control arms, a front and rear lower control arm for the driver's side and the passenger side. We got new tie rod ends and some new, I think they're rear upper control arms as well. Then we've got just some metric sockets, wrenches, impactor, penetrating oil because this is Canada and it's been on the road for, oh math, 14 years now. So the only other thing you're really gonna need, some general sockets, yeah. I got a reasonable sized pry bar and some Cobra pliers. I don't know if those will be necessary at all. And some coffee. Gotta have some coffee. Anyways. Well, I guess you may as well go ahead and get this wheel here pulled off. Same on the other side. And we can start tearing it apart. Well, we're all geared up here to rip this wheel off. 17 millimeter, by the way, if you're ever going to do this yourself, which if you have any money and smarts, I would recommend just taking it to someone else. But I have money, just not enough smarts. So let's get after it. Well, we got that wheel off. That sucked. She crusted on here pretty good. Nice bit of corrosion and scale on here. Well, now that we're in here, let's take a boo. There's a serious ridge on these here brake discs, but I'm not that concerned. Parts we're after today are that wishbone there, this lower front control arm, and there's one back in there that you probably can't really see. This piece here. So let's see how she goes. Well, I think step one here, get some of this dirt off of these plastic clips and such so we can pop this access cover off, and I think we got to get this inner fender well off, so let's start with that. Step one, remove this plastic clip. Step two, remove this plastic clip. Step 3, remove this plastic clip. Step 4, remove this plastic clip. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Remove a bunch of these little bolts here. 8 mil. Well, that held up nothing, probably because the front end of my car is broke. Pop this one out. Can't forget about him. Step 13,897,000. Normally you'd have to remove this, but my bumper's already broken, so I don't have to. Bonus. Okay, captain's log. Start date unknown. I just know that I'm an idiot. So belay all those other steps, because I think all you actually have to do is pull out. There's a bolt up here above that guy. There's 2 down here on either side of the. There's one there, either side of the steering rack. Little plastic nut. Many hours later, I got this little trim piece off of here. And now I've got access to that lower control arm, that one, and the upper one shouldn't be too bad yet, so yeah, don't take a bunch of this crap out if you don't have to, I guess, you know, just pay attention and take just this piece out. Man, a lift would sure be nice. Oh well. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's now much later. Got the inner fenders, front one's off, back half is loose. Plus there's a little valence cover here. There. That gives me access to the nut. Like there, because BMW decided not to make it captive, and then it's, yeah, gonna be a pain in the butt. But this front one's gonna be even worse on this front wishbone, because it's right up there behind the power steering. No, I think it's the power steering tank. So yeah, that's fun. That's gonna be a joy. Got good access to the rest of these. So this one, this fender here, don't try and take it all the way off, because in here, yeah, this is your ABS and whatnot sensors, wheel speed sensor possibly. I don't know what the second one's for. They're both attached to the brakes. Anyways, these 2 sensors here, these clips are liable to break, and you don't want to lose them. And this box is old plastic that's soft, so I just pulled the rest of the bolts out. There's a couple underneath, and that allows me to just swing it around like this. Now, taking the other side here real quick, fast, and in a hurry. So now this whole piece comes off, it just pulls off. But there is these little pins here, which I think they're nylon rivets. I just put a pry bar under and pop them clear. So I'm gonna have to see if we can't find new ones, because that's gonna be one step to put this back together. Anyways, now that everything is horribly filthy, continue trudging forward. So I think we'll start with this top control arm. Basically the steps here is going to be disconnect this ride height sensor linkage, and then remove these 2 bolts. So it should be a simple process of trying to reach a wrench up into this impossible to access place, and then back behind this wheel well cover back in here to grab the back end of that bolt, and then we'll snip this off, and we should be able to pry that open enough to get the ball joint out. So I'll get after that and come back when she's all tidied up. Man. Out with the old and with the new. Got this new one snuck in here. These top bolts are non-positioning. They don't have anything to do with the wheel alignment. I did, however, struggle to get this bolt all the way out because of the spring. I had to jack up the hub with the jack to get that spring to clear that bolt where it comes out up there. So I'd recommend taking the top bolts off the coil spring here, strut, and that way you can shimmy this around, move it out of the way as much as you need. Never seized everything. This bolt that comes through here and clamps onto this ball joint, however, is completely hooched. So I got a new one coming from the local Napa. So I guess next step is down to the bottom here. See if we can't get that guy undone. Actually, let's start on the hub side. Be back. Well, we're back after a quick run to the parts store. That there bolt. That one. I didn't have the socket for it. Turns out it's a 27mm 12 point. That's for the tie rod end, as well as this front trailing arm. It also has the same bolt and this lower control arm, also 27mm 12 point. Now I expect these to be a right fight, so I say we just get after it. Well, we got the upstream portion of this here, I think they call it a front trailing arm, off. And beating on the aluminum housing is not a great idea with a hammer, so I have this here pickle fork thingamajiggy. Let's see if we can't sneak that in there somehow. I'm gonna run it on the air hammer because I'm lazy. Woo! Good. So it's hitting on the CV shaft. That's perfect. This end here, bolts up here. That's 18mm bolt. Really long. Kind of annoying. 27mm 12 point on the downward side of her, so I'll see what I can do to get that out of there and get back at you. I ended up taking this lower control arm off as well. It was attached in here. This one is the tie rod end for the steering rack. So to get this guy off, it's just that same 27mm 12 point lower strut mount, which is these two. That's 21mm for the mount for this back end of it. It's also 21mm. So I thought I was going to have to pull the axle, which was nice because I don't have the socket for that, and I didn't have to pull it, so bonus. So now it's on to the new parts. Mint.
2,000 years later.
Test. Well, same shirt, different day. Things just got way out of hand yesterday. Ended up not having the right tools, not enough knowledge, and way too much ambition, and got next to nothing done. So, recap for my own sanity. Basically, we got top control arm in, wrecked a bolt. That's cool. I had new tie rod ends. These ones are okay, and so I'm not going to replace them because I don't want to have to do the alignment now, and they're easy to get to down the road anyways, so I'll leave those for now. But I got this old front trailing arm out. The bushings on it are pretty well shot, and the ball joint is okay, but not great. It's pretty loosey-goosey. So, got this new one here, and the problem is the new one is actually about a 1/4 inch taller. 1/4 inch taller in this direction here. So she doesn't fit around the old CV axle. So then I had to go on the hunt for the socket that fits this crusty rusty nut down here, which is apparently an 1 7/16 ish. I think it's 38 mil ish, 12 point. So I went and stole that from the neighbor, and now we're going to see if we can't pull the CV axle out, because life, you just gotta live it. Well, depression over. Here we go. The baby torch. We'll move on up to the oxypropane torch. If that's not hot enough, I don't know what's gonna be. I'll be honest, this stuff smells quite nice. Well, we finally got that CV shaft out the way. It is actually pressed in on this side. The spline's in there. There's a special tool to press that out. It doesn't look like that, but that works, because that's what I did. So now I should have the clearance to put that in, and then try and put that back in there, and get this nut back on. You're supposed to replace these, but I don't have one, so we'll see how it goes. And then most likely torque to 1,000,000 foot-pounds. I'll bring you back when I'm done cursing and swearing. We got this all stuck back together here now, so top control arms are in. I got the back half of the inner fender liner in. Front half I'm going to throw in now. Trailing arm link is in. Lower control arm is in. Got the old axle nut back on. Those are actually bent tabs. You're supposed to bend that down into the nut, so I'll do that now and then call this side good enough. Torqued everything to Guten Tat, which is the official German specification for torque on these. And we should be throwing the little plastics back on, and this side should be all snugged up and done. Here we go. Well, we're all back together now. Got the fender flare back on. I got some fresh nylon rivets in there. Didn't even end up with any extra screws, so that was wild. So, should be good to rock and roll now. I'm still going to replace this here bolt with the correct one once I get it in, because 2 nuts on there is not exactly ideal, and it's only an 8.8 instead of a 10.9. So we'll order that in and get it coming, but for now I guess we can slap the tire on and call this side finito. It's been many moons. We're up here on the passenger side finally. Same thing, upper control arm, trailing arm, and then the lower control arm down under there. That there. So this one, I was able to pop off the little box that housed the ABS sensor, but that allowed me to pull the fender all the way out. So this one I only took off the bottom 2 trim pieces that cover kind of the underside and this portion through here, and then the back fender well, because I need access up in there for that guy. But this one we can actually reach from under the hood. It's right there, that bolt. So that's nice, we don't have to pull the front liner out, save some time. And you can't access this one from the top because the fuse panel, or whatever this is, I believe it's the fuse panel, is in the way. So, fun. Well, this side will be largely the same. The only thing that's going to change here is we're going to pull this nut off first and get this axle shaft loose, because I know I'm going to have to do that again. And then I think we can start pulling everything apart. Well, got the passenger side all done up too. New upper control arm. I did end up taking this coil spring out from the top. Basically you have to remove this valence cover here. 13 mils that are just locks that come out of there, and then this air dam thing here comes out with a bunch of T15 Torx. There's 2 kind of back here, and then there's a M10 mil here and a 10 mil here down below. And once that's out, you can get to the bolts. There's one of them you can see there for the shock tower. Drop that down, and then that allows this to come out and clear, so you can get the bolts out. So that's nice. Lowers are in, easy peasy on those. Got the axle nut off and back on after we pulled that out, so that's nice. Basically all that's left now is take the tire off. So what an adventure. It's been 2 days. This side literally only took me 3 hours tops, which is probably still too slow, but not that bad. So got her done. About time. Now that we've got this all buttoned up, last step here is torque the tires. 104 foot-pounds, because that's what I feel like doing. Now the reason I backed them off, tightened them back up, because you don't actually know how tight they are if it clicks before they move. And we're all about doing things right-ish. So that about does it here. Now that the shop is a complete and utter disaster and I only half finished the job, we should be ready to go on to the next thing. Well, we got her done. It's on the ground, wheels are torqued, and it was a pain in the butt. I ended up putting $400 worth of parts on for the 3 control arms and shipping, whatnot. Good old Rock Auto pulls through once again. my favorite website. Yeah, I think the most time-consuming part was taking all the plastics off and figuring out how the heck those crazy Germans put it all together. But once you got that done, the first side took me, driver's side, took me 8 hours, I think. But that's with runs for parts and getting the right tools and sockets, etc., etc. This side was 3 hours. So if you knew what you were doing, 3 hours is not bad to do that much work. So, and I had to do extra steps like remove the CV axles because the parts I got were not OEM ones. They were SKF. No. Skyway Automotive Products. Yes. Straight off the boat from China. But they're all in. They seem tight and they're a lot better than what was in there. So I'm calling that a complete and utter success. That's about it. Thanks for watching Test Garage. We'll see you next time when we test more limits, budgets, and patience. Catch you later.